It is the 10 years anniversary of Collected Transients. I wanted to do something special for 10 years, so we've put together a cool video where you'll hear me talk way too much, but also the main bullet points are we are running a 10-day sale. Every single library on the entire site is 30% off. Next, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to be giving away 10 libraries to 10 people. If you own a Collected Transients library, you can take part in this. So what I'm looking for is for people to fill out a form, which you'll find below. What I want to know is what libraries you own, how you use them. If you've used them in anything fun, you can share what you like about them, what you don't like about them. I just want to know. And then you can pick a library that if you happen to get drawn, you will get. So at the end of this sale, which will be the 25th, I'm going to be drawing 10 names, and those 10 people will get the library of their choice for free. Lastly, I want to say that 100% of the proceeds from this 10-day sale will go to charity. I'm donating it all. So I'm going to be donating all of it to Doctors Without Borders. I don't need to say much about Doctors Without Borders. You can look on their website. They do awesome work all around the world. So just know that when you buy a library, you're supporting a good cause.
What is your name and what do you do?
My name's Stosh Tuszynski. I'm a sound designer for film and TV and video games, and I run Collected Transients. So we make sound effects libraries for people like me, weirdos.
Why are we making this video?
It is the 10-year anniversary of Collected Transients, which really snuck up on me. It's just kind of a way to celebrate Collected Transients, and I really want to focus on the people who give me the motivation to keep Collected Transients going, the people that buy the libraries and show support and just celebrate them as well.
What inspired you to start Collected Transients?
The first sounds I recorded were on like a Zoom H4n. I went out in the city and recorded a whole bunch of different things, the L train and my elevator in the building and all this stuff, and I found myself constantly using the sounds I recorded. Even though they weren't the best quality sounds, they were ones that I knew, and it made me feel like my work was unique, and it made me really want to capture more sounds. You know, the second you're able to use your own sound in a project, it's like extremely satisfying, or at least it is for me. So that just kind of led to me wanting to create more or record more sounds. And then I was thinking, well, if I find these sounds useful, I wonder if other people would. And turns out they do.
Why do you think sound designers like your libraries?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like I should ask them. I've heard a lot of things, but in general, I think people like unique source material. And in my work, I do get into kind of heavy processing on things, but I tend to lean towards minimal processing when it comes to my sound design. So rather than a whole bunch of granular synthesis and all this other crap, I really like the simplicity of, pitch bending sounds, reversing them. When you have really cool, unique recordings, it makes it all the more easy. Did
you always know you wanted to make source material for sound designers?
I don't think so. I think when I started Collected Transients, it was really, a lot of it was from the angle of what do I hate editing, or what do I not have enough of in my library? And that, if I was really to think what was the one single thing that made me want to start Collected Transients, I had this idea. I hated cutting keyboard sounds, and I hated setting up a mic to record keyboard sounds. And I was working on all kinds of industrials where they always have text popping across the screen. And it was just a real tedious thing to edit. And I thought, I have this MIDI keyboard. Wouldn't it be cool if I could just tap away on that and play the keyboard sounds? So I recorded all these keyboard sounds and learned how to program and Contact. So yeah, I didn't always know that, but when I first started Collected Transients, I released 3 libraries: Mouse and Keyboard, We Are the People, which is like a protest library, and Machine Emanation, which was contact mics on various power tools. I was surprised to see, people bought the Mouse and Keyboard library, but more people bought Machine Emanation, and that led me to believe, hey, maybe people are more into, just odd source material that you don't exactly know what you need it for, but it's a cool sound and you can use it in your work.
You released 21 libraries over the past 10 years.
Has there been that many? I've never counted them all, I guess.
Including the free-ish libraries.
Wow.
Okay. Do you have a library you're most proud of or that is your favorite?
The one that I'm most proud of is probably Combustion. It was a very difficult thing to record. It's a whole bunch of fiery sounds, like bottles that have flames shooting out of them, and loading up an acetylene torch into a big tube. There was just a lot of danger involved, and it was a little bit risky recording all that stuff because I couldn't record most of it in like a garage or anything, or outside because I'm in Chicago. There's just a lot of extraneous sound. So most of it was recorded in booths, like in the booth right over there. It was tough to record, but I ended up with a ton of just really cool source material that I use all the time in my work. And in doing some research for this video, I found out that is by far my most popular library. So people obviously like it, and the video turned out cool too. I was really, really proud of the video. So, yeah, Combustion.
What inspires you to come up with ideas like Combustion or Massive Movement?
You know, of all things, I think it's like YouTube or like Reddit. I'll see some stupid video that somebody posts of somebody doing something stupid, and it sounds cool. And I'm like, holy crap, that's a good idea. I should record that. And that's how Combustion got started. Me putting an acetylene torch in a tube wasn't my own idea. A lot of the other things were, though. But I saw this guy do that, and it made this crazy sound. So yeah, I'll find one single thing on YouTube or Reddit or wherever, so maybe somebody sends me something, and I'll like the sound. It's a cool sound, but then I'll think, okay, what is the theme of this sound? How can I find other things like that, or think of other things to record that are like that? So for Combustion, I was like, hey, there's a flame traveling through a tube. What else can I have a flame travel through? So I've done all kinds of research on whoosh bottles, which I didn't come up with the idea for, but I was like, let's put it in a freaking barrel, in a 55-gallon drum. Let's do that. And I found this chemical that you can burn, and it looks like a volcano, and it makes this hissy sound. And so I always try to just elaborate on whatever the thing is that caught my attention, how to expand upon that, and inevitably it makes other cool sounds.
What have been the biggest challenges with creating sound effects libraries in general?
The biggest might be just the time it takes to make it, or at least the time it takes to make things to my standard. Not that I have some crazy intense standard, but I really want each library to stand as kind of, I want it to be a piece of art. I want it to be this very cool, concentrated collection. So it takes a long time to come up with all of the things I want to record, and a long time, obviously, to record them all and to take video while I'm recording them all, because I like making these videos for my libraries, which I really want to shout out Tim Preble from Hiss and a Roar. He really inspired me, and I think he inspired a ton of people who do what I do, and a ton of sound designers. He makes these insane videos of his libraries that are very, very artistic, very, they catch your ear, they catch your eye, and I really wanted to try to live up to that. So he inspired me a lot. So yeah, capturing all the video, capturing all the sounds, and then I am a terrible video editor. It takes me so long. I swear I spend more time on the videos than I do recording the library, which I should probably hire somebody to do it, but I'd be too picky. But yeah, so kind of is my answer just creating the library is the hardest part of creating the library.
That's too general. No, I'm just kidding. Which part of the process of making a library do you enjoy the most?
Honestly, I think it might be editing, because recording can be stressful just because there's a lot of things to make sure they're set up correctly, cameras and microphones, and oh crap, I forgot to hit record on one of those things, or the thing I'm recording doesn't quite sound how I wanted. But in the edit, I get to really clean things up and also hear how they sound when I slow them down. Like I record almost everything at 192, so when I get to play it at quarter speed, I get to hear everything that I captured, which is a big part of the sound design libraries I sell. I want people to be able to really bend them and morph them and have clean signal all the way up to 96 kilohertz. So yeah, I really enjoy editing. I hate metadata though. I hate doing metadata. It's so tedious. I don't know. It's just it's tough for me to switch my brain to thinking how I would think when I would search for these sounds. And I think part of that's because I record really odd things that are tough to put into words what they are, and make sure they pop up in people's searches, but not erroneously. So.
Has anyone told you how they've used your sound effects in a project? Can you share?
So yeah, I do hear from people in a very general sense, like, hey, I really loved this library on this project. It helped, like people using combustion for a game, for gun sounds or whatever. But I was interested for this 10-year anniversary. I wanted to reach out to some people that have really supported me over the years and been, just big inspirations. Like, they're big names in sound design, and they're the kind of people that really inspire me to keep going and keep making cool stuff. So I reached out to a number of people and asked them if they had any specific examples of where they used libraries. A good number of people came back and gave me some specific things that they use sounds for, and it was very cool.
Hi, my name is Robbie Stambler. I'm a sound editor and sound designer. Collected Transients has been there for me for many years. One of my most memorable moments using it was on Lord of the Rings of Power, for the sound of lava bombs landing. I used some of the thermal flux library in combination with some explosion sounds to create the most fried, sizzly, nasty explosions you've ever heard.
My name is Dillon Bennett. I'm sound supervisor and designer. I'd say my favorite sound was probably the hail cannon, because the first time I heard that, I was blown away by the sound, and it was like a light bulb moment of, that's the sound, that's what I need. It's an indie sci-fi film called Settlers. There's a robot in it which had a sort of mining weapon. And as soon as I heard that sound, I was like, that's the sound. And pretty much is 90% of the sound of the final weapon.
I'm George Haddad, and I work as a sound designer in Los Angeles, and I was also part of the post-sound team for the Gotham TV series. We used Collected Transients' Diffuse City throughout the 100 episodes. We loved it because of the different perspective recordings we have, from the dark environments, the drone, the under and over bridges, etc., etc. It was perfect for the TV series and the sound we wanted to get.
Hello, my name is Gurwal Coïc-Gallas. I'm a sound designer, sound supervisor. I worked on the animation feature film Flow, where I used sounds from the library Implosion, and it really worked well. In particular, in a very important scene where the cat is swept away by a huge wave. The whole movie is from the cat's point of view, so the sound has to be a little different from our reality. So basically, the sound of the huge wave is building collapsing.
Hello, my name is Juan Uribe. I'm a sound designer. I work at Bungie, and the reason I like the Collected Transient libraries is because they have a lot of unique and interesting sounds and textures that I tend to gravitate to. And whenever I need to just push a design to sound more interesting, or maybe I need creativity sparked in some way, these types of libraries are really good for that. They just lend themselves really well for sci-fi, fantasy types of designs.
Do you have any specific examples of how you used your own libraries?
It's funny. I reached out to all these people asking how they use the libraries, and then I was thinking to myself, like, I know I use my stuff a lot, but I honestly really struggled to think of specific things. I came up with a couple. So I used the hail cannon from Combustion. There was this cutscene I was working on in Destiny 2. These giant cannons are just shooting things in the sky one after another. And that's similar to how the hail cannon functions. It's just one after another, these shots. So the hail cannon was a really core part of that sound. The next one I was able to come up with was a film called Revealer, which was a indie horror film that had these slithering demon snakes that had a terrible screech sound that the director wanted. So I used the thermal flux library. It was the water beads, and it was the sound where I took a hot knife and pressed them against the beads, and it makes this terrible sound. And it just was kind of this wet, screaming sound that kind of was the core part of the Revealer Snakes.
Do you have any wild stories from one of your recording sessions?
Wild stories. Okay, I can share one about Implosion. It was one of the earlier buildings that I had recorded. It was this big steel mill. I hadn't had much experience in the logistics of doing that because whenever there's an implosion, they block off a radius where nobody can enter and exit, and I knew that. So I was in a place where I thought it was outside of this exclusion zone, and I had set up my mics, and it was maybe 5 minutes from when they were going to start the implosion, and suddenly this cop pulled up, saw what I was doing, and said, "Hey, you got to go. You're not in a safe area. Get out." And I tried to talk with him and say, "Hey, can I just hit record and then leave my stuff here?" And he gave me this kind of vague response that implied I probably should take my stuff, but he wasn't going to stop me if I wanted to leave it. So I kind of just panicked and hit record on everything and prayed that I had the level set right and just walked away. Left like probably, I don't know, thousands of dollars of equipment just in the middle of nowhere. Anyways, the implosion went off. I went to go get the microphones and everything, and I found out all of my gear was just completely covered in this thick metallic dust, which is probably the worst kind of dust you can have when it comes to electronics. It was very dumb for me to have not covered everything up, but again, I had to kind of move fast. So yeah, it took a really long time to clean that out.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. 10 years is a long time. Can you share a little bit about how Collected Transients has evolved with you?
I don't know how much Collected Transients has changed at its core. Like I feel like I always try to push the bar when it comes to like quality, but in general, I've kept the same energy of what I want in a library and how I want to present it and how I think it'll be useful for people. But I think what has changed is me and how much time I spend working on this, because I work as a sound designer 9 to 5, and then the only time I'm able to really record Collected Transients libraries is after work on the weekdays or on the weekend. And for a long time, I was able to do that pretty consistently and put a lot of hours into making these libraries and push out more libraries faster. But it kind of caused some burnout. So I think what's changed is over the years, I'm much more willing to let things sit and not force myself into feeling like I have to put out a library, I have to come up with the next big thing. It feels good to have a more relaxed attitude of, if I see something and an idea comes to me, obviously I write it down, but I like to let it happen naturally, I guess, which has been a much more fulfilling feeling for these libraries. Letting things sit longer has let me kind of either filter out the bad ones or come up with better ideas of how to expand upon that theme or that idea.
So how has Collected Transients grown?
It has grown quite a lot, which I'm proud to say. When I started, it started on a Tumblr website. It was just a real hacked together way of selling libraries. I had no idea what I was doing. But luckily, I had enough success from that I was able to make enough money to build a better website and buy some equipment to make the next library. And it just gave me a lot of motivation to keep going. So it just kind of became this rolling ball of making a library, seeing how well it did, thinking how can I best utilize that money to grow Collected Transients. Over the years, I've collected zero money from Collected Transients. It's all gone back into the company, whether it's paying for a flight to go record some cool stuff, paying for hosting. Putting the money back into the company and not just paying myself has been like a really satisfying way to grow Collected Transients. And everything that I put out into the world, people use and give back, and then I in turn give that back to Collected Transients, and it's just become this awesome, ever-growing sphere of cool sounds, and I hope I can keep that up.
What kind of libraries do you want to be making 10 years from now?
Oh my gosh. 10 years? 10 years from now? That's 20 by my math. It's a long time. Is it cliche to say I want to be making the same kinds of things? Like, I try to be innovative in the sounds I capture, and I try to do things that other people aren't doing, or maybe I have a different kind of angle at approaching them, and I want to keep that theme up. I'd love to keep pushing myself to do bigger and crazier things, but that's not always what I found in my experience to be the things that people are going to really appreciate or really want to use. Like, my implosion library was a very difficult thing to record. It was a really big challenge logistically, but I don't find myself using it a lot. It's a very literal sound. It's explosions, it's rubble, which is very useful when you need that, but it's not a really weird esoteric concept that you can just kind of have this theme in your mind of, oh, these are rotation sounds, these are combustion sounds. My project kind of lines up with that. Oh, I'm going to use rotation on this project. And it kind of helps, I think libraries like that can help give your sound design palette kind of like a theme, which is just good for a project. So I want to keep making weird libraries is the very short answer to that.
Love it.
In 10 years. This is like, the
it's like
the Netflix thing.
Yeah.
Come sit down. It's like, what do you want to know?